Artists, today we are going to be painting our beautiful pumpkin drawings. You're going to need your drawing from last time where we outlined it with Sharpie. You're going to need some paintbrushes, some paint, and a doggy dish with a sponge. Let me show you what all this silly stuff is for. We are going to be using some painting techniques, and we have some painting rules. The first rule is how to hold your paintbrush. The parts of the paintbrush are the fuzzy part, which is called the bristles. This is the part that gets paint on it. And this is the part that touches your paper as you spread paint on your shapes. The silver, the gold part, is called the ferrule, and Miss Dalmy calls it the danger zone. I'll tell you why in just a second. And then you have the handle. It could be clear or wooden, or maybe it's a different color, but the handle is this long part. It's called the handle because that's where your hand goes. When you hold a paintbrush, you hold it like a pencil, like this. Do not hold it at the top of the handle like this, not in the middle, but close to the ferrule or the silver part. Right behind the silver, the gold part is where your hand needs to grip the paintbrush. The ferrule is also called the danger zone because we need to keep our hand out of that silver part so that our hand is not in danger of getting paint on it. So if you have your hand holding the silver part, back it up. That's much better so that you're not in the danger zone. Also, this silver part can't get paint on it because if it does, it could ruin the ferrule and it won't hold the brush together anymore and you won't be able to use it. Okay? When you're using paint, your paint cup or paint container needs to stay in the tray or on the table. And when you're using your paint, hold your brush, just like we said, right behind the danger zone, and dip just the tip of the bristles or the fuzzy part, the hairs, in the paint. Okay? We also want to pretend like our paintbrush is a ballerina, and our ballerina's tippy toes are always pointed. That means our brush should always be pointed. When you're painting, you are lightly sweeping the paint or spreading the paint side to side or up and down. You are never going to mash your brush like this. Then your ballerina won't be on her tippy toes. And we need to keep her tippy toes nice and pointed. If you mash your brush like this, we call that the boot scootin' boogie because our ballerina will be scooting on her bottom, not her tippy toes. So please don't do that. Now, when it's time to use your paint, you're not going to pick up the cup like Miss Dalmy. I'm only doing this so you can see closely, but yours will stay on the newspaper. Dip just the tip or the tippy toes of your paintbrush with paint. Do not let paint get on the silver part or the danger zone. Only a little bit at a time. When you run out, I will show you how to get more. Okay? Now, I want you to start on one part. I like to start way over here because look at my arm. It's laying across my paper because I paint with my right hand. If you paint with your left hand, you might want to start painting over here so your arm can lay like this. When your arm is laying on your paper, it's not going to get on wet paint. And I'm going to start painting. Remember, my ballerina's tippy toes needs to stay pointed. So I'm sweeping, kind of like you sweep the floor if you're using a broom. And when you see a black Sharpie line, try not to get paint on that line, but try to get it very close so that you don't see white on your pumpkin. If I zoom in, you should see I didn't get close enough right here. You see there's a little tiny white space and I need to fix it. So I'm gripping my brush right behind the danger zone and I'm painting right there. If you need a smaller brush, you can put this one down on the newspaper so it doesn't get on your paper. Hold it correctly, the small brush, dip just the tippy toes, and you might need to use a smaller brush to get around those skinny black lines. Okay? You also might need to use a paintbrush around your stem or a very small shape. If you have a small shape, you can switch brushes. But you are only painting with one color today, so we actually don't need water and sponges. And when you run out of paint, get a little bit more and you keep painting until your pumpkin is finished. So I am going to work on my pumpkin. Please be careful not to get paint around your pumpkin in the white part. All this part is going to stay white. We're painting up and down or side to side. We're painting slowly around our black Sharpie lines. If you accidentally get paint on your black Sharpie lines, it's okay because you can probably still see it, but I just want you to be extra careful. If your paintbrush makes a scratchy sound or a scratchy line like this, that is your brush telling you he's thirsty. We can't leave it like that. We have to paint over it. So when your brush makes a scratchy line or a scratchy sound, get a little bit more paint and paint over it so that it's nice and smooth. Remember, hold your brush behind the silver part and hold it like a pencil. If you're painting a very skinny part of your paper or a very small shape, switch brushes to a small brush. And while I have my small brush, I might just go ahead and paint all the small and skinny areas like this right here before I put it down. That'll save some time. Now, when I'm getting to the other side of my pumpkin, be careful that you don't lay your wrist or your arm into wet paint. If you need to turn your paper, you can. When your paint makes a scratchy mark, that's when you're running out of paint. Get a little bit more. And I don't want to see a glob of paint on your paper. If you accidentally have a glob of paint, take your brush and spread that paint around to another part of your pumpkin so that it can dry quicker. And this paint will dry fast, but not fast enough for you to touch it today. Let it dry completely. These pumpkins are going to be extra colorful. Most pumpkins in a real pumpkin patch or a pumpkin garden are orange, but you can choose different bright colors for your pumpkin, just like Yayao Kusama. Her artwork does not look like real life. It looks like something from someone's imagination. So I'm so excited that our pumpkins are going to be extra colorful. Whenever our paint is dry, we will add polka dots on top because, of course, we learned how much she loves polka dots. Keep painting until your pumpkin is finished. When you think you are done, make sure you look carefully, and if you see any white spots on your pumpkin, make sure you paint inside, because we want the whole thing to be painted. Awesome job. I can't wait to see your painting.